Fred Firestone of the Punderdome. We have an opportunity today to chat with one of our most amazing punt champions, Noah Smith, aka the Pink Punther. Hey, Noah, good to be with you, man.
Good to be here.
Well, I hope you say that after the end of the 20 minutes. Anyway, a little background on Noah, the Pink Punther. So the Pink Punther, I have a very clear memory of you because there's a video of it. December 1st, 2011.
Not that far back.
2011, when you and who was it? You and Forrest Whitaker were going at it, and you won that championship.
Yes. Whitaker, not the actor Forrest Whitaker.
That's right.
The punster Forrest Whitaker.
Witty, yes, witty, well stated. That's the one. We haven't had the other guy yet. Anyway, so you won that round. I just wanted let's go back to 2012. Again, you started when the Punderdome started in 2011. You were one of the first champs. When you left in 2012, you moved to Ohio. At that point in time, you had 8 wins. You were number 1 on the all-time Dome leaderboard. All right, now the best I can figure, that Punderdome on December 1st of 2011, thereabouts, I think that was Dome number 6. You won that one. That might have been the last one you won. Again, you had 8 wins when you left in 2012. When you came back to the virtual Dome in last year, of course, when we started in June, you came back early on. You have picked up 4 wins in a very short period of time. Now you've got 12 wins, and you're still number 7 on the all-time Dome leaderboard. So here we are. You left Dome number 6. You came back when we're Dome number maybe 118. 2012, came back in 2021. 9 years, just amazing. So welcome. So glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. It was very exciting to get that first email from you during the quarantine. Something to look forward to and shake up the routine.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about your ability to come back. I recall the first Dome, virtual Dome, you came back. You didn't get into the semifinals thereafter. Every time you've done it, you've been there. But before I get into that and how that happened, a little background. What's any early inspirations in terms of your punt ability?
Yeah, my family is pretty quick to make jokes. I'm the youngest of 5, and so any family get-together is already pretty rowdy and interrupting each other with funny things all the time. My uncle Sterling, I'll shout out, was pretty famous in the family for unable to stop himself from making puns at all times. So I remember as a kid, my grandma collected these little shoes, like fancy high heel figurines. And he said, "Oh, these are a work of art. Making these is no small feat." And I was like 9 years old or something. And it was just mind blown. I was like, because it's an actual joke too. It's a play on words, but like he's good at making actual jokes out of it. And so I would watch him just like rattle these off. And I was kind of like, had no clue how he did it. What we call now dad jokes. They were uncle jokes back then. I remember he hit me on the back. He said, "Hey, guess who's back? Yours." And it was just constant. Anytime you'd see him, and still to this day, anytime we talk to him, he's gonna throw a pun at you. Yeah, and then I didn't really consider myself like a pun expert, but clearly me and Tim, Forrest Whitaker, were making a lot with each other when we worked at Trader Joe's together, and our friend Connell, who showed up in some Punderdomes as Well He Quipped and other names like that. Yeah, Tim said, "Hey, there's this thing called the Punderdome. You'd be good at it." And on my first try, I won, so I kept coming back. So,
well, let me get this straight. So you've got this uncle that inspired you. Did you start punting pretty soon thereafter? He inspired you. Or did you put your head into the ring, so to speak, trying these puns?
Yeah, I guess if I had something, I guess it really picked up probably in like the end of high school when my group of friends was all pretty nerdy and wordy, and still to this day, certain friends, I'll shout out Ben, Steven, any conversation we have, we're likely to just do some free association of wordplay, not even puns, just like words that sound like each other. We'll just repeat them. It's almost not a conversation. So yeah, I've always been fascinated by the coincidences of the language, how things can mean other things, and there's an infinite amount of nonsense you can make to amuse each other with. So yeah, I didn't really, I guess, because I don't feel like I was like excelling at it, but I guess apparently I was decent enough to win some Punderdomes by the time I got to it.
So this is Trader Joe's with Forrest Whitaker. You guys
Yes.
played games back and forth, and he said you ought to come to this thing. Did you know right away? Or of course, you won the first one you went to. Did it speak to you right away when you saw it? Did you say this is where I belong?
Yeah, right away, to be celebrated for the kind of constant wordplay that was kind of already in my head. So sometimes I'm thinking more about the sounds of words that I'm hearing from people than the content of what they're saying, which isn't always good for paying attention to the world. But yeah, Trader Joe's definitely a lot of like standing around time at the register or stocking shelves, and there's a big array of things in front of you, words and objects. So
Yeah.
people are pretty quick to make some sort of joke about, beets and potatoes, because you're looking at this stuff all the time and you have the time to sit around and talk about it. So yeah, that probably did help, just training, standing next to Tim and other silly people at Trader Joe's. Because at that point, that was my entire social life, was the Trader Joe's crew, who cheered for me very hard at each Punderdome.
So you had the uncle, you had Trader Joe's, and the Punterdome champ. So you were, yet again, to retire at 2012 with 8 wins, number 1 on the all-time Dome leaderboard. How tough was it to come back 9 years later? I mean, did you feel like this is home again, or did you feel like, I don't know if this virtual arena is right for me, or when did you start to feel rock and roll heaven?
I felt honestly pretty nervous I was excited to come back. I knew that I couldn't say no to it because I would be regretting it if I didn't show up. I was nervous that I had kind of lost my magic. So at my very last live Punderdome in 2012, I actually did not advance at all past the first round. So it was kind of an anticlimactic way to leave. Joe and Fred and the whole group was very supportive and sent me off nicely, but it was a little bit leaving on a low note to get out in the first round on my very last time. Then I did do the O. Henry punt off on the following year and did not do great in that because I had beaten Jersey, who shows up still a lot. What's his name now? Lingo Quar. He was
yes.
do punt to others and other names before. So I had beaten him at the Punderdome. He went on to get first at the O. Henry. So I was like, well, maybe I'll go do awesome at the O. Henry. And I went in with not very much practice, and they were all amazing there. So I was okay, but I didn't do great at it. There was a lot of pros there, obviously. I believe I saw Quip Monk, who's with us in the Punderdome now.
Yes.
I think he got either first or second in that time, and some of the other Punderdome crew was representing very strongly there.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, years passed, and I still kind of followed along, seeing what you guys are doing online. But I was nervous to come back, that maybe I would still not quite have it, have my brain working. Because when you're doing it every single month, sorry, that's my cat's tail coming up. Your brain is really like trained all the time to be like Terminator, seeing words on wherever you look. You're looking at every word and every, like, how does that word break up? How do you take that syllable to this syllable? But yeah, I guess, so I did actually practice a lot in that first month when you told me I was coming back. I actually sat there with the Punderdome game and taught myself for 2 minutes and wrote down stuff. And now I do a little of that a couple of days before to try to get my brain back on it each time.
So how confident do you feel now going into these things? Is it now that you pretty much, it just seems like my observation is you're pretty much in the final 2 whenever you play, ever since that first step back, it was, I guess you got your feet wet and now you're in the final 2. Do you feel confident going into the Punderdome, or what's your thoughts going in?
It ranges from I'm thinking I'm really good to thinking I'm horrible. I think like a lot of performers, you have your times when you're like, I'm amazing and I'm nothing. And I usually go in like, well, at least if I at least don't completely flop, I'll be okay. Like there was times when I only got to the semifinal and not to the final. And like that first time out on the virtual one, even though I didn't make it past the first round, I don't think I completely whiffed it. I delivered about 2 minutes of decent enough puns, so I didn't feel horrible about it. The only thing that would make me actually upset is if I like completely choked and just said, like for 2 minutes straight, then I would actually feel bad. Because the competition is really good every time. So I'm never like, I'm definitely going to beat these people. It's more like, geez, I hope I get in the top 3 of this round because all 6 or 7 other people were awesome every time.
I find that, once we've appealed to the global crowd, we get champs from all over, and the competition is really good. So just to have got through a set and feel good about it is a victory.
Yeah, like I said, like if I'm not, as long as I feel like I did a decent amount, I made my 2 minutes count without completely flopping or giving it, 30 seconds of dead air while I scratch my head, then I'm okay with it. And if the crowd likes it, then all the better, because I do get excited. Not only like does it mean I'm closer to winning, but I get to do it again, 10 minutes later if I get past the first round, and again 5 minutes later if I make it again. So yeah, it's a nice, like I said, to be with people who also are amused by this stuff as much as I am and who are fascinated by language as much as I am is really nice. It does feel like a community, even though we're spread out across the world and seeing each other for, 2 hours once a month.
What if I ask you about this or sending you a note about it? You said you'd like to talk about that. When I say pun Kodak moments, what's your thoughts on that? And when you look back at your pun life, are there any things that just have stood out as a real significant touch point in your life?
Yeah, I think I did talk about some of the childhood ones I heard that stuck with me that were just like, seemed kind of effortless. I remember, and then my parents told me stories of how my grandpa on my dad's side was also known to just rattle them off, and they would trade them going back and forth. So I like to imagine this like legacy of these people, sitting around in the 50s and 60s making all these same kind of jokes. Yeah, my dad likes to talk about how something came up about like the situation in the Middle East, and my mom said, "Well, that's not my bag, Dad," and that's not my bag being a phrase at the time, and how I think that was for my dad, like, a moment where he fell in love a little further with my mom, probably for the same way I love when my wife can crack a joke, which is quite frequent. Yeah, and then seeing those first Punderdomes, the quality of the competition, Tim Forrest Whitaker, I remember in the subway category, or like New York transit category, he had one about getting off on the, it's a little risque, something about the G train and G spots. I don't know if kids are going to watch this, but he had it set up so it was an actual joke. It was a pun, but it was like a joke, like a solid joke. It's like, that's the ultimate goal, because you can rattle off like cramming words into other words, but if you can make a joke out of it in the moment like that, it like elevates it.
Let's talk more about that if we could. And keep going. I'm sorry. Any other Kodak moments? Because I do want to focus on the ability to take a pun and make it a joke and add value to the equation.
Yeah.
Any other Kodak moments?
Well, probably some of Punda Express. Brian passed recently last year, I believe, of cancer. I watched him at some of the Punderdomes. He would always, be amazing. And he was at that O. Henry competition I went to in Texas. And we all had a great time hanging out afterwards, like zero community there. But he was obviously a stellar pun maker. And he did a presidential one, like he did like a stump speech naming every single president. He was solid. Like so just want to like give him a little homage, RIP, because it was specifically remember I had gotten over how bad I was doing and was just sitting down enjoying it. And it was like one of the best strings of puns. It's on YouTube. I'm sure you can find one of the best strings of puns you'll ever hear. And he did it like as a politician too. So like pounding his fist and rallying the crowd. If you put a little performance into it, always helps.
He was amazing. And actually, Pund Express is still number 6 with 14 wins, the all-time Dome leaderboard.
Okay.
You're number 7, 2 behind him.
So I should feel bad then. If I surpass him on the leaderboard, I won't know quite how to feel about that.
He was a gem.
I'm sure he would be proud.
My favorite of his, he was talking, I think the idea was bodies of water. And I hope I say this right, but he was talking about he and a friend went camping, the inception of the Colorado River. The topic was constitutional issues. That was it. And he and a friend went waded camping or at the inception of the Colorado River. As they got into the river, at the very first part of the river, the question, it was Roe versus Wade.
Say it's that.
But he was a gem.
The setups. That's the kind of setup where like everyone's going to get it. Yeah. You don't need too long to actually deliver it. Yeah, solid performer. Great guy.
Amen. Well, let's talk a little bit too about, when do you know that what you've done is going to work? I know you said that if I can make it an actual joke, not just a pun, you add value to the equation. Tell us more about that when you're doing, what does that look like in your mind, or how do you do that?
Well, so my ideal, like I said, if you can make an actual joke, I don't feel like I actually do that much in the competition because I feel like the style that pays off in the Punderdome, or at least apparently is working for me, is kind of quantity, not over quality, but still going for quantity. Yeah. To get it kind of back to back, get up to like 7. I've counted sometimes like 17 or 18 is almost the max you can pull off, at least for me, in 2 minutes. But yeah, I guess I am, as I'm writing them down, if I can write a little, if I already know what it's going to be, like I think the last time it was big cities. And when I wrote down Cleveland, which I count as a big city, being Ohioan, I know that I could say Cleveland. Those are 2 words, and you can make a sentence out of that pretty fast. If it's something like Cincinnati, I need to write myself a little note, like what am I actually going to say for Cincinnati, which was sin, attaboy, like I'm telling someone to sin. Yeah. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I think people get the gist of it. So I might write Cincinnati, then parentheses, attaboy, like, so I'm kind of, if I need to make a note for myself, I will. And then as I watch your timer and it's like 20 seconds left to write stuff, at that point, just write as many, proper nouns or whatever the category is as you can, because that's part of the competition is just, can you name 20 kitchen objects? Can you name 20 authors? Which in the moment can honestly be very hard. And I'm like, surely I can think of another, book title. And then you're like, there's a timer and there's an audience. So no, I can't. That's always a little panicky moment where you're like, come on, brain, there's other nouns in this category. Where are they?
It might be panicky for you, but to the observer, it's never evident when we're watching you. Never.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me ask you this: if you had to pick one Punderdome celebrity or Punderdome champ to go one-on-one against, you'd say that would be a real challenge. And who would you pick? Anybody in mind that you say it would be exciting to go at him?
Well, I think I've gone against a few of the all-time greats we've had here, Lingo Quar, and more recently Hot Crust Puns, Lexicon. They've all been stellar. I don't know, I think I've maybe gone against Daft Pun, who's always bringing it. I think he's one of the all-time leaders. Yeah, he's definitely solid. I was actually thinking about this for like outside the Punderdome world. See if you could get him, like Colin Mockery, or those like Whose Line Is It Anyway guys, who, if you watch those old Whose Line Is It Anyway shows, are effortless with them, which of course gets into improv and stuff. But yeah, I think I'm not sure how great I would do against a literal professional comedian, but I think that'd be fun to see someone like that go against. So yeah, see if you can get Colin Mockery to
Yeah,
join
all
it.
right. Well, I'll get back with you on that.
Okay.
Is it interesting to you that now we no longer have a New York-based program, but a global-based? Is that exciting to be able to punt up with these folks, champions from Australia, Malaysia, UK? Does that add excitement to the Punderdome?
Oh yeah, I mean that's great to know that there's these other communities out there, because I think all those guys came to the Punderdome, or if someone in the Punderdome found out about them because um, they're doing well at their Australian competition and the UK competition and Malaysia, and I think we'll get even further out into the world. So yeah, it's nice to know there's like a multiple pockets of crazy people who love words this much and are as amused by other people's little word jokes. So yeah, and some great competition from Sir Arthur Pendragon, who
They're Australia champ, by the way.
yes,
Give them a shout.
Australian champ.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I don't name them all. Massive Punts, just an amazing name right there. And yeah, it is very exciting, and I think it seems like since I left the live Punderdomes, they were already pretty packed, pretty big deals. They seem to get bigger and bigger. And like I was seeing online, people are like having trouble getting tickets. I was very proud of what you and Joe were continuing to build on. So yeah, I think it's only going to, grow as I guess a comedy sport, whatever you want to call it, a spectacle. I won't be surprised if I see some local stuff in Ohio popping up here. It's already happening. I apologize for not knowing about it and shouting it out.
Let me just wrap up this interview. This is very interesting. Thanks for sharing your time. Yeah, I'm going to make a statement if you can comment on it, please. I've always believed that the Punderdome is a spectator sport. You've got people that are doing things that a lot of people admire, and it's fun to watch. You see yourself as being in a sport, as a Punderdome participant?
I mean, it is a competition, and I suppose it's physical, especially if you're live, but it is, I'm sure I'm not the only one like actually sweating while I'm doing it. And when the camera is off me, I am sort of pacing and stretching and kind of doing some like, all right, here we go kind of stuff you might do before you are running out onto a basketball court. All right, I don't want to insult it by saying it's not a sport. I guess it's in a weird middle ground between game and performance and sport, maybe like a chess match or Rubik's Cube competition where it is mental and it is physical. And in our case, it's also comedy, because I did a lot of short form improv here in Columbus. And that kind of felt like a sport because we were sweaty, we were stomping around and shouting silly jokes all the time. So it's like its own little, between pure just performance and competition, we've got this nice, strange middle ground here we're in. I don't know if that's a great answer or not very concise.
It's a good one. I always saw it as like the World Wrestling Federation-esque type of thing.
Yeah.
So, and if
yeah, you want, I mean,
series of poker, there are a lot of things out there that on their face are not sports, but they become sports. So.
Yeah, I like the term comedy sports. I think that actually might be a branded improv company already, but it is, the idea is to make people laugh, but the idea is also to like rack up your kind of points to get a lot out in a small amount of time. So yeah, it's somewhere between, it's a much different vibe than if I were to stand here and tell you a 2-minute stand-up routine that I had months and years to work on.
Right. You're right. I think that's interesting. Your ability, and it amazes me. You have no idea what the topic's going to be until I give it to you. They've got 2 minutes to populate your pad with items within the category, and then you've got to come up with puns, and then you've got to be able to deliver it in a stand-up routine. So it's amazing the skill sets that we see of every Punderdome, and you really rocked it.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Punther, glad to see you again after all these years. So glad you're back, and you are a domer, and you're winning it and kicking it. So it's a pleasure that you're here, and thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. I will see you March 4th.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, I'll be there.
See ya.